We're supposed to talk about Moshiach. You guys understand that, right? Today's Chav Chas Nisan. Let's see if we can do two miracles, okay? Miracle number one is you can ask me questions with your mouth. And miracles number two, I got between 60 and 90 seconds to answer each question. No long lectures. You want to try? Yes or no?
What's the miracle?
Huh?
What's the miracle?
What's the miracle? I don't know how to shut up. That's the miracle. Are we trying it? Yes or no? Are we in?
Yes.
Okay, if you have a question, raise your hand. About Moshiach related. Okay, that's the end of that story. Go ahead, talk.
How do we exactly know what it's going to look like and what it's going to be like?
First of all, we don't have to. That I'm right, you shouldn't try and figure it out. And part of the reason we don't know how it's going to happen is because how it's going to happen depends on what's happening before Moshiach. Because Moshiach could happen when we deserve him, and Moshiach could happen if we don't deserve him. And based on that, it's two different Moshiachs. That's number one. And number two, we know exactly what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that people are going to be good. You're going to keep Tayyag mitzvahs, and Goyim are going to keep Sheva mitzvahs. All of us. That's the whole Mashiach. There's details. And Mashiach is a part. Mashiach's a guy. He's a man. He changes. He teaches. Mashiach's a teacher. He's not a bully. Okay, go ahead.
How are we not going to get bored for living forever?
How we're not going to get bored living forever. The answer to your question is, who said we're going to live forever?
We always learned that, like...
You were taught wrong. Yeah. There's two different stuff, as they say in Alateda, okay? There's two different stuffs. There's Mashiach and there's Tchias HaMesim. They're not the same. Mashiach is basically the life you and I have now. It's just that people have the strength to do the right thing. The world of Mashiach is a world where we support each other in being good by being good. Mashiach is a world we support one another in being smart by being smart. Mashiach is a world we all support one another. We all koch in Hashem by supporting one another in koching in Hashem. That's what Mashiach looks like. People are born, people live, people die. Okay, there's no war, people don't die early, there's no suffering. But Mashiach is a regular life like the one we live. Then there's something called schar. Schar is Elam Haba. Now we hold Elam Haba is Tchias HaMesim. The Rambam holds not like that, but we hold like the Ramban. And then we taka live forever. But that's a whole nother life. Because in that world, even though you're going to have a guf, you're not going to eat, you're not going to sleep, you're not going to be married. The whole existence is godliness. And the answer to your question is, we will be just as bored as the Eibishter himself is. Have you ever considered how boring it must be to be the Eibishter? There's nothing he doesn't know. Huh? He can't become any bigger, any smarter, he can't improve in any way. Isn't that boring? Somehow we understand that he's not bored, right? We don't understand why, right? So we're not going to be bored for the same reason. And I'll tell you something very interesting, okay? And I have 15 seconds left to my 90-second allotment. The Rambam actually says what you say exactly. In the 10th Perek of Sanhedrin, where he talks about El Haba. On the Mishnah, Kol Yisrael Yishchal Haba, he quotes, says these words. Tainuk tmidi any tainuk. Any pleasure you experience non-stop is boring. He says those words, but then he says that Tchias HaMesim, Olam Haba, is going to be a non-stop pleasure, and it won't be boring. Which means it's impossible to understand what kind of pleasure it is. That's what the Rambam says. Next question. Go ahead, talk loud and clear.
So that means that death is a part of Moshiach? People are going to die? And then afterwards, like Tchias HaMesim?
Technically, the answer to your question is yes. There's actually a Gemara that says that in order to have Tchias HaMesim, you must die. Why? Because if you hold like the Ramban, that Tchias HaMesim is eternal life, you have to get rid of the little klipa, the little bit of death, which you have to do with Chava. All of us are the children of Chava after Chet Eitzadas. So there's a little bit of death that comes from that. That's where death began, with Eitzadas. So in order for the guf to live forever, you have to get rid of that little bit of death. So the Gemara's expression of everybody passes away before Tchias HaMesim occurs. Correct. Now, the Rebbe says a lot of very interesting things that are on a higher level. Like the Rebbe says, you can be yoytze. The Rebbe spoke about this about himself. You can be yoytze hakel chayzin la'afran through v'nafshi ka'ofa la'koil tihiyeh. This that the Gemara says that everybody has to return to the dust. You can fulfill through being humble. You know what those words are? V'nat, my soul should be. You can be yoytze beruchnius. But technically speaking, there's a lot of opinions about a lot of things, but it's what you guys are fed is a diet of Moshiach equals Chiyas HaMeisim equals Elam Haba, he's living forever. It's all propaganda. It's all lie. It's just not true, and I don't know why people teach it wrong. Moshiach is what I said: a world where people are good. To be good is hard, you know. To be good is hard, but if everybody else around you is good, it's easier.
But if death is a part of Mashiach, how is that good?
How is that? Since when is death bad?
Because it's painful.
No, it's not. Suffering is painful. Death is inevitable. Suffering is painful. Dying young is painful.
But even if an old man dies, it's painful.
It's life. But the Gemara says that one of the Tanoim said, don't live too long so your children should get a chance to lead. It's a Gemara. So yeah, it's true. Death isn't painful. Death is life. Until Tchias HaMeisim. In Tchias HaMeisim there's no more Misa. And that's when it says, Bi lahamoves lanetzach. So everybody took all of these different things, put them into one pot, mixed them up. Why? Because it feels good. But it's not honest. The reason you're confused about Mashiach is you never heard what Mashiach is correctly. And you have to know what Mashiach is, and then you got to live Mashiach. You have to desire it. Imagine a world where that one miracle happens. Everything that's happening now contains Mashiach. But for one thing, every person gets up in the morning and says, what's the right thing to do? And does it. That's it. Instead of, well, if I do the right thing, then I'm going to lose out. I'm going to do the right thing, my friends are going to make fun of me. I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm going to lose this or this or this or this. I'm going to be considered a neb. Imagine getting up in the morning and saying, I'm going to do the right thing and doing it. Now, Moshiach is a person who teaches. He teaches more than anything else. Moshiach is a teacher. More even than he's a king, which forces us to do things. He's a teacher who's going to create a mood in the world that's going to affect Yidden and Goyim to do good. And to kotzach, not in Nintendo and vacations and in good wine, but in ideas. And what kind of ideas? Not physics and chemistry. Lyhadus as Hashem, to know God. That's Mashiach. It's about human beings actually being the best they could be. That's Mashiach. That's the truth. That is the truth of Mashiach. Just, the Rebbe once said, imagine a world where that one miracle happens and all people are going to be good. Could there be a bigger miracle than that? No miracles. Alf derech hateva. And someone comes and teaches us how to be good and we listen to him. Not a few weirdos in Brooklyn, everybody.
But everything is going to be natural.
Yep, that's a possibility. There's different opinions, but certainly that's a possibility. You see, even if miracles happen, what's your first name? Sarah, I won't tell anybody, okay? And I'll forget tomorrow, so I won't hold it against you, okay? Sarah, listen. Even if miracles happen, that's not what Mashiach is about. The miracles just make it easier for us. Mashiach is always about what I'm telling you. People should do what Hashem taught us to be. Human beings, not animals. In other words, whether the miracles happens or not, it doesn't define Mashiach. Mashiach is a world of goodness and kindness, of righteousness, of growth. I just spent 45 minutes talking to the seminary Beis girls. And what did I talk about? I talked about hard work. They were so disappointed. Mashiach is not about the illustration that I use, which I think a lot of girls can relate to, is, you have that blanket and that pillow and those candles that you cuddle up under your blanket and you sit and you feel so bubbly, Some people think that's what Mashiach is. It's the furthest thing from the truth. Mashiach is not you working on yourself to become a better person, but having the strength to do it. Having the koyach to see it through. Not to be disappointed and not to fail. To have the koyach to do righteousness, goodness.
If illness is eradicated, there's no bad. That's not natural.
Well, you see, the word bad is a very subjective word. The word bad is a very subjective word. But, fine. But it could be not natural because something amazing happened. And it could be not natural because in some natural way we eliminated it. I want to ask you a question. Years and years and years ago, people died at a much earlier age because they didn't have the possibility for fixing people's hearts and for people, because the world has evolved. The medical world is so much more advanced. Every single year, the medical world is so more advanced. There's so many new diseases that we can cure and so many better ways to do it. Is that a miracle? Or is it nature? That's a miracle, a big miracle in nature. So is Mashiach a miracle? Necessarily? The miracle of Mashiach is going to be that people are actually going to be good. That's a lot harder than curing disease. A lot harder than curing disease. Okay, I went over 90 seconds. Any other questions? Talk loud and clear.
When Technias Mason happens, are people going to be like the same age and state as they were when they died?
The Gemara says, the Gemara compares Technias Mason to planting a seed and it growing out of the ground. That's how it describes it.
So they restart their life?
So you start over your life where you were at the moment of death. So if a child passes away, they come back as a child. If an old man passes away, they come back as an old man, wearing the same clothing they wore before they passed. And they heal afterwards. The problem is, there's a machlokes between the Rambam and the Ramban what's Technias Mason. The Rambam also holds of Technias Mason, but the Rambam holds Technias Mason is temporary. The Rambam doesn't hold that we live forever. Only the neshama lives forever, not the guf. We disagree with the Rambam. We hold like the Megubalim, like the Ramban, that the guf lives forever. But Technias Mason, at least the way we understand it, in other words, not the Rambam, but the way Chassidus understands it, Technias Mason basically means you did a mitzvah. That mitzvah is godliness. In Technias Mason, you're going to experience that godliness. There's no eating at all. There's no sleeping at all. There's no birth, there's no death. The human experience as a human being is gone. You are a piece of godliness. And you're not bored, just like the Eibush is not bored. Your whole reality is experiencing a lakus. In your guf. Why are you experiencing it in your guf? Because your guf did the mitzvahs, the guf should have the schar. And if you've learned Chassidus, they add another dimension to it, because the gashmi is a keli for atzmos. The physical guf is, in a weird kind of way, better able to hold a lakus than the neshama is. That's why it says in Chassidus that after Mashiach, after Technias Mason happens, the neshama lives from the guf. Now the guf lives from the neshama. In Technias Mason, ha-neshama nizein min ha-guf. The guf is going to be higher than the neshama. Did I answer you? Any other question?
Meaning that Technias Mason, like everyone has to go through Technias Mason. Is there an opinion?
What is the alternative? Of course, everybody holds Technias Mason. One of the 13 principles of faith. There's no argument about Technias Mason.
No, I'm saying, isn't there an opinion that everyone has to die and then?
Yeah, I said that to her before.
But then you just said that no one's gonna eat, no one's gonna, and like the food.
After Technias Mason.
That's what I'm saying. So then what? We're just gonna be like all angels.
We're going to be more than angels. We're going to be like physical manifestations of godliness.
Is that what we're yearning for?
One second.
That's interesting. Then like what?
I have a funny question. And I'm not saying this to you, I'm saying this to the Lubavitcher school system. How do you not know this? You learn about Moshiach, and you haven't learned nothing.
So it's
Just-
like being an Alabama, like so. Then
Yes, that's exactly what Technias Mason is. But that's not Moshiach, it's Technias Mason. Moshiach is doing mitzvahs, getting up in the morning, going to sleep at night, eating, sleeping, getting married, having children. Moshiach and Technias Mason are two different things. And you were misled. You were. After Moshiach comes. How much time? There's different opinions in the Gemara. One opinion is 3 generations. One opinion is 60 years. One opinion is 40 years. Different opinions in the Gemara. Now, the Rebbe holds that it's possible that the eras can be crunched together. They can happen faster. But crunched together doesn't make them the same thing. You have to academically, you have to intellectually know what Mashiach is. Intellectually what Technias Mason is. Mashiach is Hayoim L'Asoyso. Mashiach is a part of Avodas Hashem. After Mashiach comes, we still have free will. We choose to learn to do mitzvahs. We're just living in an environment that makes it easier. Tchias HaMesim is chad. It's a whole nother reality. Compared to Tchias HaMesim, Mashiach and the darkest time of Golus are exactly the same. The big difference is not Mashiach, the big difference is Tchias HaMesim. Go ahead.
Is that what we're yearning for Tchias HaMesim?
No, for Mashiach. For Mashiach. For Mashiach. This is the mistake. We're not yearning for Tchias HaMesim. We're yearning for Mashiach. Why? I want to meet my grandmother. I also want to meet my grandmother. But even if you're going to meet your grandmother, if you define Mashiach by meeting your grandmother, you don't understand the religious idea of Mashiach. Mashiach kindalach. Mashiach's a religious concept. It's not a fantasy. It's not like when you were 9 and your mother read you a fairy tale and she finishes and they lived happily ever after. And you felt so good and so smug that you fell asleep. Mashiach is not happily ever after. Happily ever after is for little kids. Happily ever after is not happily and it's not ever and it's not after. It's boring. It's depressing. Mashiach is a world where people have the courage to be the best they can be. And there's nothing easy about that. There's nothing retiring and vacationing about that. It's avoida. But it's good. That's Mashiach. You understand what I'm saying?
Are they still going to be around, kind of? Because
Who?
we were told that we're going to have like the tzaddikim around, like during Mashiach time.
That's the Gemara. But tzaddikim. Yeah, the Gemara says, Moshe Moim. The Rebbe says that the biggest tzaddikim of Tchias HaMesim as soon as Mashiach comes. That does say in the Gemara. But Tchias HaMesim for everybody is called tzchad. It's after Mashiach. Go ahead. Did I answer you?
Yeah, but then the Tchias HaMesim.
After Mashiach comes, we'll say we want Tchias HaMesim.
Yeah,
Right now we want Mashiach.
us as people
No.
are not going to have the benefit that a lot of people think we're having of Tchias HaMesim, because if after we're not like physical people with physical needs, then you're not having the same like enjoyment of meeting everyone that you're talking about.
Of course. Why? You think Yiddishkeit is a game for little kids? Seriously.
No, but
You think Hashem is playing with us like you play with kids in kindergarten? Hashem is treating us with great maturity. Great maturity. And He's saying to me and to you and to all of us, the greatest thing I can give you is a work ethic. The greatest thing I can give you is for you to work and maximize yourself. And that's the reward you're going to get. That's what Mashiach means, and even that's what Tchias HaMesim means. The fantasy about sitting around and drinking tea with your grandmother, it's nice in the movies. There's nothing religious about it. Everything about Mashiach and everything about Tchias HaMesim is about Yiddishkeit. Now, that's disappointing. But if you think about it, it's not disappointing. It's just grown up instead of childish. Honestly, tell me I'm wrong.
I'm just thinking.
None of I'm looking at you.
Yeah. So somebody once spoke to a group of girls when we were in high school, and she was saying that after her husband died, Rebbe told her that she could want Moshiach so she could meet him. So no.
I hear. Okay. I hear. Did Rebbe tell it to a woman?
Yeah.
Okay. But that doesn't mean that Mashiach is not meeting her husband. It's a bonus. It's very interesting. I'd like to verify that story, but okay. Go ahead.
So I'm very confused now.
Confusion is a sign of intelligence. I just opened your head. I didn't close it.
I'm very confused, thank you, but I'm very confused because that means that, let's say right now, the Shafer, we hear the Shafer and Moshiach is here. But we were always taught that, like, right away.
How do you think the shofar is going to sound?
Like a Shafer.
You think?
Stronger.
Is it going to be a Chassidische Truhe or a Misnagdische Truhe? The Rebbe said once that World War I and World War II was the sound of the shofar. Anyway, continue your question. One second. Continue your question.
There could also be a spiritual meaning, but if it says it's going to be a Shafer, is there not an actual sound? Like, when does Mashiach begin? Is there not like a...
We see the physical.
So shouldn't that come with a...
Mashiach is a person. Where does a person begin? Please answer with common sense. With his birth. And he's little. And his mommy takes pictures of him before his upshedding, yeah. And he gets bigger, and he goes to yeshiva, whatever he does. Mashiach's a human being who the first thing he does, what is the first thing Mashiach does? Anybody take a wild guess? What is the first thing Mashiach does? No. I promise you no one's going to guess. Huh? He breathes. Good answer. Yeah, that's correct actually. Yeah. What is the first significant thing Mashiach is going to do? Talk loud. Don't be afraid of being wrong. Nothing's going to happen. You help me make my point. The first thing Mashiach is going to do is make himself into a Yid who serves God. That's what he's going to do first. Numero uno. Yamed Melech Beis David. Hoige b'Torah. V'oisik b'mitzvahs. Kifi Torah sheb'Ksadish. Kifi David Aviv. Kifi Torah sheb'Ksadish b'Alpeh. Mashiach is going to be at the, he wrote a book, so sein gesund stark Braniver. The ultimate Jew. Mashiach is the ultimate Jew. As a person. And then he takes on the world. He starts with the Jews, then he starts up with the Goyim, and then he teaches. Mashiach's greatest accomplishment is that he's a teacher that actually gets people to listen to him. Not listen to him to like his ideas, listen to him to change their lives. Actionally, behaviorally. The era of Mashiach is you and me tomorrow. This afternoon. Right? When you have to, you left a cup on your table, you have to go back and put the cup in the garbage, and now you're lazy to do it. After Mashiach comes, you won't be lazy. It sounds simplistic, but it's not. Mashiach gives people a koyach to be good. And then the era of Mashiach, to answer whoever what question I'm talking to, is that over time, we support each other. If you live in a world where people are better, you automatically have an easier time being better. If you live in a world where people are more involved in ideas, it's easier for you to be involved in ideas. So there's a mutual support, not just of Yidden, of Goyim, that creates the environment. And it's ushered in by a person, by a man.
Right, so right now we don't see Moshiach.
Yeah.
So the moment that we do, is
No.
that going to be like a
The United Nations is going to condemn him at least once a day, at least. They're going to make Bibi Netanyahu look like a nice guy. The Mashiach is going to fight for the ganze Welt. Mashiach is going to lead. He's going to teach. He's going to teach the difference between stupidity and kindness, between compassion and being nice to killers. Such stupid stuff. That's what Mashiach is going to teach. And they're going to learn it from him. He's going to teach people that anything real is hard. You don't become a good person because you decide that you're a good person. You don't become a good person because you feel bad for somebody who cries in the street. You become a good person because you worked on your character. And you have judgment. And you have seichel. The goodness has teeth. Mashiach is going to teach that to all of us. It's a process. In derech hateva, it takes time. And here's the trick, guys. Here's the trick. You want to know the trick about Mashiach? Everybody listening? The trick about Mashiach is to get on the ground floor. Mashiach's going to show up. You think everyone's going to say, oh, Mashiach's here. Half the people say, he's nothing. Yeah. The earlier you get on the train, the more important you'll be. You want to believe him right away and follow. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Not every Lubavitcher believes in Rebbe's Mashiach. That'll make it very easy, yeah? But don't worry, it'll be hard even then. It'll be hard even then. The minute he tells you something you don't like, you say, well, I don't know. It was good when it was a fantasy. Now he wants me, I should do this. I don't want to do this. You got to get on the ground floor. If you listen to Mashiach right away, then you're on the A team. That's the test. That's really the test. The Mashiach shows up, we listen, we follow.
And right away you mean like already or when Moshiach starts?
You see, I'm a Lubavitcher. So I'd like to believe that it's already started. But when you meet him and he teaches you, you listen. Go ahead.
Right, I guess maybe technically relevant to it, that if the Gemara holds that Moshiach could be someone who passed away.
Right.
So doesn't there have to be Chris Mason first?
For that person. But not for everybody. Somebody mentioned it. Somebody mentioned in this class that the Gemara says that tzaddikim, somebody said, you said it, right? Tzaddikim get up right away.
Okay, so then Moshiach and all until he can get it right away, or Moshiach first gets that, if it's that thing. Moshiach first.
The answer to that question is a categorical, I do not know. I don't know. The Gemara says, Meisha v'animo. Meisha and Anna are going to be with them. Okay, so you had a question. One of you had a question?
Yeah.
Did you have your hand raised before? No. Okay, go ahead, talk loud. I have one question. I cannot believe I'm giving information you don't have. This is elementary. Go ahead.
When you say good, what do you mean by good?
Oh, what do I mean like good? What do I mean by 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 good?
Getting up and putting away the cup that you left on the counter. Is
Yeah.
that good? That's just you being lazy.
Or not lazy. That's good. Or not lazy. That's exactly why I gave the example of a cup, because it's such a stupid example. Would you agree that most of the sins we do are not things that we do wrong? It's missed opportunities because we're lazy, or we're in a bad mood, or we're angry at somebody, or some other stupid reason, yeah? Imagine that all those things you had the koyach to do. The moral koyach, not the physical koyach, the will. You'd be a much better person. That's Mashiach. But it's not magic. It doesn't take away your Yetzer Hara. It doesn't take away your laziness gene. He motivates you. He teaches. And again, the biggest support you have after Mashiach comes is that everybody around you is growing. Slowly. Now slowly does not mean 1,000 years. Slowly could mean 6 months. But slowly. Any other questions?
Yeah, that's true. The whole, I don't know what else this, but the whole world becomes Eretz Yisrael.
No, whoa. You see, there's two issues here. May I answer that question? The short answer to your question is, I am speaking you through a particular lens. And the lens that I'm using, I think, is the most important lens. And it's the unfortunate one that gets overlooked in school. And the lens that I'm talking to you through is called, you may have heard of it, maybe you didn't. Just like you didn't hear about Moshiach, you may have heard about this lens. This is called the lens of halacha. What is the halacha of Moshiach? I am describing to Moshiach, we described in Rambam, halacha, law. All the bubbler stuff is nice. What's the halacha? And I'm trying to present you an understanding of Moshiach based on how Torah describes what Moshiach means in law, in action. So as far as the whole world being Eretz Yisrael, so there is a halachic possibility for that to happen.
Otherwise we can't do all 613, you know?
No, you go to live in Eretz Yisrael.
But then that doesn't work.
Why not?
It needs to be expanded.
Expanded to a small area, not to the whole world. The 10 lines instead of the 7 lines, that's it. It's not the whole world. It's a small piece of what is now Jordan, and maybe a little bit of Saudi Arabia, maybe a little of Syria. It's not the whole world. It's bigger, but it's not that big. Israel is always a small country. The Gemara calls Eretz Yisrael Eretz HaTzvi, the land of the deer. You know why it's called the land of the deer? Because a deer, when you skin it, when you take the skin off, the skin shrinks very quickly. So quickly that you can't imagine putting it back on. So it's called Eretz HaTzvi because it stretches and it expands and it contracts based on the Yidden. Geographically, it's also a tiny country. Even with the 10 lands, it's a tiny country. But there is a concept in Chazal that the Beis Hamikdash is going to be all of Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is going to be all of Eretz Yisrael, and that Yisrael is going to be the whole world. This is possible in halacha. You could make Eretz Yisrael bigger. You could make Yerushalayim bigger. You make the Beis Hamikdash bigger. There's rules how to do it. Is that a requisite of Mashiach? Is that a halachic requirement of Mashiach? It isn't. You asked, the first question that I was asked was, how was the world of Mashiach going to look? You know what the Rambam says about that? Does anybody know? Does anybody remember what I said half an hour ago? I said something else. The Rambam says you don't have to know, and you shouldn't even try and figure it out, because it's impossible to know. Because how it looks depends on how prepared you are before. So this question, I think, is a little bit of a subjective question. Does it happen the first day after Mashiach comes? Does it happen 10 years after Mashiach comes? 50 years after Mashiach comes? You see what I'm saying? So I'm saying two things. Number one...
Could be able to just teleport there? I don't understand, not teleport, but how we were told like all we would go on an eagle and like the clouds.
The Rebbe once said that the Anan Shmai could be an airplane, you know?
A what?
The Rebbe said the Anan Shmai could be an airplane. What's your second question?
And like all the what's it called? Like we're always told about the fruits and like we'll be able to like.
Yeah, this is a Gemara. This is actually a Gemara. So that ties into the question of miracles and supernatural. Right? Miracles are supernatural. So I am presenting you with a very natural perspective on Mashiach. But two things are true. Number one, even if you follow my line of reasoning, which is the Rambam's line of reasoning, you have to say that at some point later the miracles start happening. That those gigantic fruit, all the things described in the Chazal are going to happen. Okay, and number one. Number two, and this is more important, even if and when the miracles occur, Mashiach fundamentally is still the same thing. It's about us, hard work, and being good. You see what I'm saying?
Do the guys still work? Like not like what?
The Yidden work. Everybody works. Not working is being dead.
But then that's Bidl Torah, whatever. I don't know.
It's called Avodas Hashem.
Yeah, but I'm saying.
There's different levels of Avodas Hashem. Some people are Terasiyim Nasir. Some people see Chasan and Nasan. There's three ways of serving the Eibishter. You can serve Hashem by studying Torah. You can serve Hashem by davening, and you can serve Hashem after doing that terrible thing called work. It's all Avodas Hashem. It's all Avodas Hashem. After Mashiach comes, going to serve Hashem directly, and that the Rebbe says is the Rambam's Shita and the Alter Rebbe's Shita. They serve Hashem directly. What they provide for us is exactly the same thing. By them being involved in Yediyas Hashem, so we'll be even more involved in Yediyas Hashem. But are they doing it simply as servants of Yidden, or are they servants of the Eibishter directly? So I opened up your eyes, I think. And it really should not be. You should know this from the 4th grade. Okay, we're on Mashiach now!